Rusko start opcejan. Yes, welcome everybody joining Light Channel here in Denmark tonight, and thank you again, Elin, for joining us tonight in this very exciting program. I know at least quite a few people that have been looking forward to especially this program about the Red Sea crossing. And this is our fourth presentation in our series about Ron Wyatt, and we are going to deal with the subject. I've already mentioned the Red Sea crossing, facts or fiction. And also, the title of this series, as you can see in my background here, is a failed attempt to fit a biblical story with reality, or is this something that we can trust? Well, just a short introduction this time. Let me just remind you that, as I have mentioned in our previous presentation, we are not going to use our personal opinion, our feelings, or any personal motivated reasoning. All right. I want to dive straight into this subject, Elin. And as I know, you have a lot of material to go through. But
Yes.
just one thing before we do that, before we dive into your material, let's start with some of the critics, as we always do. I want just to present here, at least I'm trying to present a fair, let's say, definition or a fair trial of what we're going to do here. So at least some people will not say that, oh, you're so biased, you're only presenting your side of the subject, and everything you say, this is something that you believe is true. So now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to try again, as I tried last time. I'm going to try to log on our website here. And just give me a second here. This website is called Truth or Fiction. And I remember I was discussing with you. Oops, that was not the one here. Let's see if it's coming up here. I was a couple of hours ago discussing this with you, Elin, and you actually mentioned that you know some of the people that are actually presenting at least their side of the story on this website. Is that correct?
I the people they mention in the story, so but it's sad actually. It doesn't seem to have. They are just referring to what people say and what has been discovered, but it's not proven. So why are they not going down there and prove it?
Yeah. Okay.
They should try at least.
Sorry, Ellen. Could you repeat again, because your sound disappeared in the beginning? So if you could just repeat again.
Okay. Yes, I think it's very sad, that they say it's just it has not been proven. But
Mm.
a lot of people have gone down there, as we should see during the program,
Mm.
and try to prove whatever there is to prove, and what they are allowed to prove, and what they are allowed to take up from the ocean, and
Mm.
so on. But I can't see they have done anything. They just criticize. And I have met several of the critics, in
Mm.
meetings everywhere, but
Mm.
they don't seem to go down there and try
Yeah.
to prove and see, because I think that's the best approach, is to go there and see
Mm.
for yourself and
Mm.
dive there and do something. But it
Yeah.
doesn't seem that they have done anything of that.
Well, we welcome critics, right? I mean,
Yes, yes.
we don't have a problem with critics, so please do contact us. You're actually able
Yeah.
to go on our chat, on our live stream, on YouTube here, whatever you want. You can send us an email, whatever you want to do. If you have any other, let's say, evidence that actually it's proving that this is totally just a big lie, and I'm going to go through this website here. Just I'm going to scroll a little bit, so I'm going to put it up here so everybody can
Mm-hmm.
see it. Uh, the the title, as you can see, is they say chariot wheels found at the bottom of the Red Sea unproven. All right, this is trutherfiction.com.
Mm.
And again,
Yeah.
here they're saying that Egyptian chariot wheels found at the bottom of the Red Sea, as you can see here. I'm going to highlight it here again.
Mm.
They say it's unproven. I'm going to make the text actually a little bit bigger, maybe so people can actually really
Mm.
follow on the critics here. Uh, so again here they say summary of e-rumor. Okay, that's an acronym for electronic, and they say this is what's going on internet. And they say these people are including picture of what are said to be chariot wheels that were discovered, so on. They're mentioning
Yeah.
the biblical accounts where God said that He parted the waters to allow an escape. Um, so this is just a summary. But now they say the truth. Okay, so they're
Yeah.
presenting, you know, here we are
And
again,
of course,
Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, I'm just interrupting you. It's just like they start to talk about Ron Wyatt,
Mm,
Can we just shoot him
yeah,
instead of going to research?
yeah,
That's typical.
all right. But just one question before we go ahead. How many years
Mm.
is it since this happened? I mean, it's like 4,000 years or so?
Yeah, yeah, 3.5 at least.
Okay, at
Mm.
least 3,500 years. And we're
Yeah.
still sitting here. This is year 2019, and we're still arguing with a lot of Christian and actually a lot of people. And I dare to say that the majority today, they actually disprove that this is real. Is that correct? Correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
they are quoting each other. They are
Mm.
quoting each other, But I haven't met. I think I don't have met anyone who have been there and
Hmm.
actually disproved it.
Okay. All right.
So maybe they can come forward, and there is some, but it's the same with everything else. You have to research. And when I
Yeah.
got a critic, I met a lot more critics than this. And in the presentation, I will show some of the critic that
Mm.
comes,
Yeah.
and we have to say, oh, I have to
Mm.
research that.
Mm.
Because if this is true, then this is not true. You have to
Mm.
research what critics are saying,
Yeah.
but they should actually do some effort themselves to go
Mm.
down there and research, I
All
think.
right. Okay. And I know that you're gonna come up with a lot of pictures that you took yourself, right, down there, and you have,
Mostly, yeah, my friends.
yeah, you have what is today called being scientific evidence. So again, we're not trying to disprove real science. And let me say that again, real science, because there is a lot of people out there. If you just kind of a rubber stamp everything with science, that's
Mm.
absolute truth, and it's unmistakable, and end of discussion. And
Mm.
so let's just, for the sake of this presentation, just shortly, we're gonna scroll through the website here, because what I'm gonna basically show, like you did here, they're going straight into Ron Wyatt here. his
Mm.
that he was the first one in 1998, or during his first visit in Nueva in 1978. He found a large column lying on the beach that looked like an ancient artifact. Later, he found that it had been set up by Egyptian authorities in concrete
Now
for this.
that's wrong.
Okay, that's
That's
wrong.
wrong because it was the Israelis, because this was during the 6 Days War, so the Israelis were there. They were the one who put it up in display.
Okay, okay. So that's one
But
thing
that's a
which,
little.
yeah, obviously they've got wrong. Okay. So back here, the claim is, and the White claimed to have retrieved one of the wheels and said an Egyptian authority declared that it was from 18th dynasty of ancient Egypt, but nobody seems to know where that chariot wheel and or located today.
No, because this Hassan in Egyptian archaeology authority, he took it, and where they have put it, we don't know.
Okay. Well,
So,
we'll go through that. And again, I'm not picking on this website. I don't really personally know these people. I was actually talking to you earlier, Eileen, because there are many websites out there, and what I've been looking through is that most of them, this is kind of the same critique, or right? They just go over and
yes,
over again through all these websites you find, and as I'm reading through these websites, it seems that the main goal is actually to prove that Ron Wyatt was actually a hoax, as you will see later,
yeah,
right?
yes,
So it's not really about his discoveries at this point. Anyway, they say also that this website, these guys, trutherfiction.com, talked with this person, Aaron
yeah,
Sen.
him I know.
Okay, you know him, all right? Who traveled to
Yeah,
Nueva and who found the bones. And now we're talking about, he said that the bones were authenticated as human at Stockholm University, are in the possession of Professor Lennart Müller, who was at Stockholm University in the late 90s. It was discovered that there seems to be an underwater bridge of seabed that is shallower and so on. I'm going to jump a little bit here where they say White said that could have been where waters parted and made a way for Hebrew. Right? But then
yeah,
he's mentioning this guy here, Richard Rives, whatever is his name,
yeah.
which is the president of White Archaeological Research in Tennessee. All kind of people are finding coral and calling it chariot parts, right?
Yeah, I never heard him say that, but I also heard many people say that the sons of Ron Wyatt have themselves told, I don't know if you have read that they threw the wheels out in the sea and took pictures of them afterwards. It has been on a lot of websites, and I have been there with the sons, and did you ever throw wheels out there? And they were
Yeah.
laughing. They never said that. They never said that.
Okay.
So if people can lie, you have nothing to fight against, because it's one word towards another.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so there is a picture. You see here, they say a real example of this rumor as it has
Yeah,
appeared on the internet. Chariot wheel found in the Red Sea. See picture below, and they call it again a rumor. This chart, you'll be surprised to see proof of Pharaoh's chariot and bones, horses, men found in the Red Sea. Uh, Again, called a rumor. Confirmation of the actual Exodus route has come from divers finding coral encrusted and so on. Right. So anybody can go here and look up this website. Again, just
yeah,
shortly, I wanted to go through this one here. You have a lot of information on this website here, which is trying to disprove Ron Wyatt. And as you see here, actually, so now I'm going back to my presentation here.
I hope we will show that this is we have better evidence than what they
Yeah,
criticize.
yeah.
So
All right.
I hope to
Okay.
explain a little bit about those wheels.
Okay. Well, the reason I'm taking this up is because I believe that many honest people would search the internet for data and would probably find
Mm,
sites like this one, and maybe which are
yeah.
maybe very well described, and make their choices based on the amount of data presented here.
Mm,
And
yeah.
again, um, we can observe that the greatest arguments being brought against Ron Wyatt discoveries and other researchers that have been in the same area, other researchers that have been in the same area, is the same narrative of critics abound and scientists and archaeologists regard him as an untrained maverick at best, and there are
Mm,
some who regard him as a fraud, right? This is
yeah.
uh, this is
Yeah.
actually taking a quotation from this very website. You can see the link here again, just so we're not making
Mm,
this up.
mm,
You can see the link at the bottom here, truth or fiction. Uh, so what we see here, it's a presentation that they say there is an amount of scientists and scholars which are looking at Ron White as a maverick or at most a fraud. And also
mm.
they're mentioning he didn't have any BA, that's a bachelor in archaeology, and that could actually that it's a proof according to this website that Ron Wyatt would never get approval to do any kind of archaeological research in this area without having a BA. Huh. What do you?
You know, the man who found Troya
Mm,
in Turkey, Troy, the city of Troy, and the man who also found Nineveh, I guess they were not trained archaeologists at
hmm.
all. They
Yeah.
just have an eager in looking for those cities, you know, and they started the process. And the
Hmm.
people that were seriously interested came
Mm,
after and done the real research.
yeah.
But the people who find this often are not trained people in any way. So they haven't disregarded their foundings.
Mm,
So why should I disregard Ron? Why
yeah.
don't they even see? So
Yes.
that's a little silly, I think.
Yeah, and we're not here to mock anybody and either disregard scientists or anybody else having a university or an academic background. This is not the point here, and this is
No.
not what we are doing. Um, my question to you now, Ilin, is that now you're gonna go through a lot of data, and I guess it's
Yeah.
just how many percent? Just an estimate. And if based on your knowledge, the data that you're going to present here tonight, how many percent is that in regards to the data that is out there about this very subject, the Red Sea crossing? It's like 20% or 10% of the data, just an estimate.
Yeah.
But what?
Uh, I don't know.
Yeah, tough
I
question.
haven't researched it, so I'm
Yeah,
very. Yes,
yeah.
I want to be quiet on that. I have to research it
Yeah,
first.
but anyway, this is just it's like it's not kind of overwhelming. It's the whole package of data that it's out there, right? So it's just a
No,
piece.
but it's coming more and more.
Yeah.
These days, it's coming more and more, and
Okay.
special the Sinai mountain and this. There is more and more researchers going down there now and have a look for themselves.
Mm,
So
mm.
it grows very
Yeah.
much now these late years now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the questions which I'm sure some of the disbelievers will ask you, what makes you think that you can provide evidence or another approach to these critics or this critique against Ron Wyatt?
Based on the research I have done, but also friends of mine have done, and um, I, I, I think this research shows you it can't 100% prove anything,
Hmm.
but it gives a lot better explanation than those critics that comes up here on the internet.
All right. Okay. Well, and if you're going to present all this amount of data that you're going to do tonight, some people may ask, well, what difference does it really make if the Red Sea crossing was one side of or the other side of Sinai Peninsula? What difference does it make?
Well, like I also have in my presentation, presentation, I think it's because mainly because they say Exodus has never have been. It hasn't. It's just a fiction. It's not true. So in one, it's very good to more and more archaeology last 150 years has proved the Bible to be true. And I find it very good to show people the Bible is true, especially to all the communist country around in the world and others who don't trust the Bible. They have grown up in schools, also here in Scandinavia, and people's Bible is not true. So if you can show a little bit, like people get interested in the Bible again and want to read it and see, and they can trust it, I think that will make God greater.
So this would be one of the many proofs that actually we do have in nature, we do have around the world to prove that also this Bible story is not just a fairy tale, it's not just a fiction that somebody placed in the Bible to present some kind of a God which actually is non-existing, right?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
I think that's very important.
Okay. Well, let's dive into your presentation, and I think you're gonna take us back in time. So let's actually jump here. We're going back to.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think, but I think it's very important. You can just interrupt me whenever you like, but I think it's very important to go back to what happened before the Exodus, what happened up to this, what happened before, because there is so much data on that too that people don't know exists, that the Israelites really were in Egypt. So that's what I want to start with.
Okay, and this is actually history. What you're going to do now, it's actually history based on Bible and based your research and other research that you've gathered over time, right?
Yeah, because I just gathered it. Other people found it. I just put it together.
All right. Okay. So what do we have here?
Here we have the mainly Israelites. I'm very what should I say? I'm so sure about it. But many people say also it's a mix between Israelites and other people living in Goshen at that time, in North Egypt. And here is really the proof, because you can see them here. This name is Hyksos. They were princes from foreign land. And what's interesting is the Bible also called them princes. So they were kind of princes in the land they came from. And the leader here the name is Abishai, and it's a Hebrew name. Actually, one of Benjamin's tribe was named this Abishai. So that proves a lot that this is Israelites that came to visit. We found it in a tomb from the 12th dynasty, and it seems like they came and visit the pharaohs in the 12th dynasty from where they were pharaohs. They were pharaohs also in the north.
Yeah. And I can see here on the next slide that you have a map. Is this a map just okay, is this from back then, or is this the actual map?
It's on a map that just wants to show you the lower Beth Horon and the upper Beth Horon. That's the places that still exist today. And the Bible says that the granddaughter of Ephraim, who was the son of Joseph, built these cities. And they also said that some of his sons got killed in Gath. So I just want to prove they were not slaves in the beginning in Egypt. They were actually kings.
Yeah.
So that's how they started, to be leaders of their own tribes and of these people in the north. They were Hyksos.
Okay, and that actually fits with the Bible story, right? Because they didn't come there.
Does.
Okay, when Joseph came there, well, he came as a slave, but his family and later the Israelites, they were not slaves in the beginning, right?
And they have a lot of contacts with other countries around. Even to Cyprus, they have found the seals as kings. They were actually big.
Yeah, yeah. Well, just a short note here on your sound, Eileen. You're jumping a little bit. Well, your sound actually
I'm jumping back. Okay.
Your sound goes a little bit on and off here.
Mic.
Yeah, it's probably also the internet connection. Well, anyway, we'll try to do our best here, and go ahead here. So, do we have any information? on this, as we have in this. This is a slide actually. Well, go ahead and present it.
Yes, I can't read it, but you see here I can read it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is what it says in Exodus 1, chapter 1. It says that they grew big and increased abundantly and multiplied and they grew exceedingly mighty. And we forget to notice maybe that the first verses in Exodus. The land was filled with them. They were not only in Goshen. And as we see down here, you see two cartouches from Pharaoh kings up in Goshen. And in the map here, you see all this yellow is the Hyksos. They took over everything. Can you
Yeah.
see how the country was filled with them? That the research they did now. And it also said they were afraid they will join our enemies and fight against us. And actually, they made good contact with the kingdom of Cush, south of this little dynasty. Can you see the little pink dynasty there?
Yeah.
Dynasty 17? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
where they started, to
Mm.
to say no, to take over Hyksos. We don't want them up there anymore. They are foreign kings.
Mm-hmm.
So then started the war against Hyksos.
All
And
right.
second Enrata and Amusa and Kamusa were the pharaohs down in Theban, it's Luxor today, who started this war against Hyksos. So the Bible says something, but the history now says the rest.
Okay, so again, we do have a merge here of scientific data. We have history
Yeah,
and the tablets, which are being shown here at the bottom of the slides, with the story in the Bible, and that
yeah, it
makes a
fits.
match. All right. Okay, and
Yes, yes,
okay, you have another map here. Uh, where are we
yeah.
here in time?
We are in the north, in Goshen.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible called it Goshen, and this is the place. Avaris was their main city. You can see it down here, and they had fortresses and everything. And they were expelled because these princes in Theban they won obviously, and so they expelled them. So they said, well, Hyksos was expelled, but Hyksos was only the leaders with their families,
Mm-hmm.
and they were expelled. But we have data from that time that shows that they were allowed to take slaves with
Okay.
them. All those conquering Egyptians, they took the slaves at the same time they expelled the Hyksos.
Mm.
And also they went after the Hyksos
Mm.
up, I think I have a map of that, up to Israel besides Gaza.
Yeah.
There they were in a city called Sharuhen,
Mm.
and they took slaves there also. And
Mm-hmm.
they have Hebrew names. So
Mm.
we know this is the Hebrew.
All right. Have you been to this location
Yes,
recently,
yes,
or?
yes,
Okay.
yes. I've been there and I talked with this man, and
Mm-hmm.
he is the biggest man when it comes to Hyksos. His name is Professor Manfred Bietak. He's
Mm-hmm.
director of all excavation in Avaris. He has been there for 20 years, I think.
Wow.
He's from Austria, and he's a very knowledgeable man.
Mm-hmm.
He's digging out here the palace of Thutmose III, and he said the palace was built upon an Hyksos palace.
Mm-hmm.
So they have built upon it, and I asked him, where did they come from? And he said, from Canaan. I
Wow.
didn't want to say Israelites, but we know who comes from Canaan.
Mm.
At that time, the Israel lived in Canaan, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the south. So he smiled when he said, he told us also the building materials of this palace of Thutmose,
Mm-hmm.
that when they had taken slaves, it's
Mm.
just what the Bible said. They were built by this with a lot of straw in it.
Okay, and
So
just once more, who is this person, this professor? Is he related in any way to Ron Wyatt or Ron
no,
Wyatt?
no,
No. Okay.
no, not at all. So a big researcher in Egypt and been allowed to be there to do research, and his team, of course, in all these years. So he's the expert on his, and it's very good to name him because he fits in the story. But of course, people talk with him, like people who now are making film of Exodus, and they find it difficult to talk with him because they don't want to talk about the Jews.
Mm-hmm.
But of course not. He is there by permission from the Egyptian government, and he just say they came from. So
Yeah. All right.
That's all we need to know.
Okay. So do we have any other confirmations today that fits the Bible story? What about this one here?
Yeah, now I don't have time enough to take everything today, Mother Day, but this is what many things is the foster mother of Moses. That's quite another story, but Ron Wyatt is not alone of thinking that. I read it in books long before I knew Ron Wyatt. But she has an interesting description. She was later in the 18th dynasty. She was the granddaughter of one of these invaders of Everest. And she said, I have restored that which was in ruins. I have raised up which was unfinished. Since the Asiatic, that was another name they have of them, were in the midst of Avaris,
Hmm.
of the Northland Delta, and the barbarian were in the midst of them, overthrowing that which had been made, while they ruled in ignorance of Re. And
Hmm.
Re was the biggest god in Israel in Egypt at
In
that
Egypt.
time. And
Okay.
yeah, so that's how we know, this Hyksos was not worshipping the same god as
Hmm.
the Egyptians were.
Okay. Well, you mentioned this name a couple of times. Um, what do we have here? This is another map.
Yeah, that's where they were running when they were expelled. It was to this ruin today, a tell called Sharuhen, and they have big walls, and they tried, to be protected there. The Egyptian came after them and hugged them down, and it says they took their wives and others as slaves back to Egypt. And you see, this is very close to Gaza, and on the other side, you see a little bit of Beersheba. So that's a place you can visit today. Everybody knows this. And many of the slaves, if you read about it, had Hebrew names. And there was a man there called Amos, the son of Abana. He wrote his biography about when he was overturning these cities, and he tell about all these slaves he got.
All right.
I think it's a pretty good documentation of
Mm.
when the slavery started in Egypt.
Okay, exactly as in the next slide that we have here.
Yeah,
This.
there you
Uh,
see them.
yeah.
It's
Okay.
also from the 18th dynasty.
Mm.
And I said I noticed the hair and skin color because the one with the stick,
Mhm.
that is the main boss here, he has blacker than the others, and they
Mhm.
have light hair and black hair. That's really typical for Israelites. They are
Okay.
different hair colors.
Okay.
But
So.
I found this picture myself in a tomb in
Uh-huh.
Luxor. It's
Okay.
from the 18th dynasty.
All right. Okay. So who actually dated this picture to be from the 18th dynasty?
From Yeah, because it's in the tomb of one of the officials
Mhm.
in the grave of the nobles in Luxor, and we know it's from the 18th dynasty. They tell it them itself because they are painting that on the walls,
All
and they
right.
say who they were a servant of. So
Mhm.
that's pretty
Okay.
pretty noble.
Actually, the light color people, that's obviously the Hebrews, right? And
Yeah, or the mixed. They are kind of mixed,
okay,
with both
yeah,
colors.
okay. But anyway, the picture is representing slaves, and they're the guys with the stick,
Yeah,
yeah, which are all the slave owner or the person that was in charge of the slaves at that point in time, right? Okay. Well,
yeah,
I see that we're gonna jump a little bit ahead in time.
yeah. Now we come to the Exodus
Yeah.
year.
Okay, so that was just a little bit of background information about the Hebrews when they came in Egypt, and we do have evidence
Mm.
today to actually prove that they came there as non-slaves and they ended as
Mm.
slaves, right? Okay,
Yes, yes.
okay. So how long did they live in Egypt? That's the question here.
Yeah, many people think that were there for 430 years because it says so in the Bible, but the Bible is counting it from Abraham. They were among strangers all the way back because the tradition says it was 250 years, some say 210, and the Bible tells us that Moses was the third and the fourth generation after Levi. So it couldn't have been 430 years. It's impossible.
All right.
So they
Okay.
were not there very long, and only the latest years in 18th dynasty they were slaves actually.
Okay, and we do have also another information from the Bible here.
Yeah, it's about Moses. I think that picture was so interesting, but of course it's not Moses. But it says that he went out to his brethren and looked, and he saw an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, one of his brethren. So it could be like this picture is figuring here, but it doesn't say who it is.
Yeah, okay. Did you take this picture yourself?
No, I didn't, because it's
Okay.
not allowed to take picture inside these tombs. But
Usually.
so the time, but they have them other workplaces, so I've seen them.
All right. Okay. Well, the Bible is actually showing and describing the story, and here we have some
Yes.
two Bible verses here describing uh, the story, the beginning of what happened with the Hebrew. And I guess if you want to read the verses here, or
Yes, I want to emphasize, people can read them in Exodus 13 chapter,
yeah.
but just to show it in the context, it's so important to say they went up. After they were allowed to go. We don't have that story because it's going to be too long to talk about Moses and what happened. But we know the story. But when they were going out after
Yeah.
these plagues were finished, they went out of the land of Egypt. And that's very important because many people stressed that this has to happen, within the borders of
Yeah.
Egypt. The crossing was inside the border of Egypt, but they went out long before, many days before the crossing took place. And I think this scripture is very, very accurate. And it also say that they didn't go the way of the Philistines, the Horus way they called it. That was close to the Mediterranean. God didn't want to take them there. Instead, he took them the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea, because the peninsula Sinai, we call it today, that name didn't exist at that time.
Yeah.
So they call it obviously the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea, because that was in the middle of and out of the land of Egypt. Just remember that, because all these contradictions, all the others who wants to have a word of crossing took place, they say that was inside. They show places inside of that what is still Egypt.
Well, one of the arguments I hear is that would be practically impossible to take, let's say, 1 million people. That's an estimate number, right, of the Hebrew that went out of Egypt, and to bring them. And if you look at the next map here, it's actually showing that's the red line, right? The red line, it's actually showing
the traditional place.
Okay. Yeah.
Is there where the traditional say it was Mount Sinai in Sinai, and they say they have to cross up. You see these small lakes at the top there. It's impossible to drown there, so that's a miracle itself that all the Egyptians died up there. Others say it's a little bit south, but it doesn't fit because they are not out of Egypt.
Yes. Yeah.
And what I also want to emphasize with the picture is that God says to Moses, bring them back to this mountain. And Moses was in the land of Midian. So when he saw the burning bush, he was in Midian. And he was tending the flock of sheep from Jethro. And we know he lived in Midian. That's another story, though. But he was going towards Midian to do what God had told him to.
Okay, so the Bible story is saying that Moses was supposed to take the Hebrews there where the orange arrow is pointing, right? This is Moses was supposed to take the Hebrew where the arrow is pointing at the bottom of the map. Yeah. Okay, here.
Yeah.
The actual story.
That's important.
Yes, it's very important. The story that we have today is that Mount Sinai, it's actually there at the bottom, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let me see if
Um,
I can point my mouse there where this one here. Okay, I'm just repeating this
yeah.
one here, and I do have a point with that
Uh,
because the critics, which I've heard and I'm reading on internet, it's saying yes, what you're trying to do now, it's actually you're trying to fit the Bible story with your own narrative just to make the Bible look truthful, right? This is
uh, yeah, in a way,
yeah.
but the evidence today is so
Mm,
clear.
mm,
We don't have time to take up, but we have to tell where the Sinai is. But
yeah.
the Sinai is where all the Bible says it is.
Mhm.
In Sweden, they have changed it now and put Sinai in Midian because they say that it's wrong. But we don't have any proof that Sinai is down there at the
Mhm.
bottom there. It's just made up by the mother of the Emperor Constantine.
Mhm.
For when did he live? 300,
Around 300, yes.
400 after
Mhm.
Christ. And
Mhm.
no Jews think that it's there. They just call it the Caterina convent because
Yeah, yeah.
they don't. There's several mountains that is
Mm.
candidate for Sinai, and this is the less
Mm.
likely that is
Yeah.
down there. It's
And
just a
there
Catholic invention.
yeah, there are thousands of people that goes down there. I've been there myself. I didn't know
Okay, yes.
better, but it was a very interesting site. I know thousands of people are going there, a lot of people,
Yeah.
because they really believe that this is the right site, right, on Mount
Mm.
Sinai, and there is also the mountain where they suppose Moses got the Ten Commandments. But let's go ahead
Mm.
here because I see that you have some pictures here, a
Yeah,
little.
that's the right one. You may know it because I have never been there actually.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the space was good enough for all those people. Maybe it was, but like I said, it's just a Catholic invention, and nobody really believes it's there.
Mm.
And it's because of all the lack of proofs that people
Yeah.
say, well, this story never existed
Mm.
because they can't find anything.
Mm.
Not on the way there either.
Mm.
And all the names they put, on the map in the Bible, that this is what Bible says all the places where before you get there.
Yeah.
These names are not there today. It's never
Mm.
been there either.
Yeah. And
So,
there are also some other facts which are missing on the location in Egypt, on the Sinai, and we're gonna see that
mm,
a little bit later. Um,
yeah.
what about this?
Yeah, I just put up this man.
Yeah.
He and other Israelis, they say, well, we don't believe at all in Exodus. That's a myth. It's
Hmm.
just a fiction because we can't find anything.
Mm.
So, but if they start to look at Saudi Arabia now that more and more people are looking there, they will
Hmm.
find it.
Mm.
And so somebody said to me, but the Bedouins around the convent there, they say it's Sinai. But these Bedouins were imported by
Hmm.
Emperor King Justinian. He took some Albanians or Greeks and he put them there, so they can serve the convent and the monks there. So they are not even from the place. So
Hmm.
that's why they say, I read that in a brochure in the Sinai Peninsula that they were brought in there.
Hmm.
So you
Yeah.
can't even trust them
Okay.
in this
Another
matter.
hmm, another interesting point. Here we do have a map, which is this is a satellite map here of
It's just
Sinai.
because I like the picture.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really like the picture, but it gives you an idea about the area. You see in the north, there is not so much mountainous wilderness that is
Hmm.
further south. It's more sand.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it gives a good picture of this rugged, what you say, mountains that
Yeah.
they have
And,
to go through.
and when you look at the picture from your right side, you have the Gulf of Aqaba, right?
Yes.
Just so we know where we are uh, on this planet. Okay. And here we also again have another map which is showing a road, right, from one side of Sinai Peninsula to the other side. And I guess somebody calculated this time. I'm not sure if you're still with us, Eileen. It seems that you've lost your connection. We're trying to get back to Eileen here. In 1 second.
You're back. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I think I disappeared or you did. So anyway, this is a very good map. You know, some critics
right. We're
say
trying
they.
to reconnect
Okay, you're not connected. Okay, I
to
will wait.
Eileen here. I don't know. The internet it's dropping out.
Oh, I can hear you. Maybe you're not seeing me. Maybe nobody is. Well, if anyone can hear me, you just have to be patient.
Okay, so just a few seconds if you bear with us.
Now I can hear you, but I can't see you. Okay. So I can just talk about what I am seeing here, maybe. Somebody can hear me. So this map is because so many critics say they could not pass over here during 1 week. It's the traditional week. It fits with the Bible also that took around 1 week to go over here. My friend here, Ross Patterson, he tried to walk a little and fits with this machine he have. But also today you can go on Google Maps and you can actually see how long time will it take to go over here. And if you go very fast, it will take 11 hours a day. And they went day and night, the Bible says. So they have a lot of time to go over here. I can maybe while I'm waiting for him, I can tell a little bit about. They didn't take this route here that the Google map did, because there's a new road there now. But the old road was still there when we were there 20 years ago, and it is more crossing through the country. But there comes so much flash floods there when in the rainy season, so they have changed the roads now to another direction. But you can still walk up there. It's not impossible, but it doesn't take. It's not the way they take today. So that's what I wanted to say. It's Moshe Dayan. During the 6 Days War, he took 1 week and marched over here with all his soldiers to the Nile, because they wanted to take Egypt at that time. So it's full possible that they can cross over here 1 week, and it's that the Bible says they did. They camp and Etam, and we will show the place in a short while. And
All right, we're back.
yes, now I just told them about this, but because I got a signal that they could hear me, so I told them about that they were able to cross over here, and it doesn't take, like the critic says, it's impossible to walk over here in 1 week.
Yeah. All right.
So
Okay.
yeah, they had time enough to get over, and the first place they rested, the Bible says, is Etam, and
Hmm.
there is a place there called and that's where they were told to turn. That was in Etam, and you see the place called Al Tamad up there. That's where the road went down before. That's the road went down there when I had tour groups down there, but now they have changed it, like you see on the new Google map. They have
Yeah.
changed it. Here you see the place they camped, and they were asked to turn because they were on their way to Elat, and from
Hmm.
Elat they could go down to Midian. Because if they went that way, they didn't have to go across the waters. But now God asked them to turn, and then they have to, to turn 90 degrees and go down this path instead.
Hmm.
So it fits with the name, and it fits with that's the way it turns. That's where it turns. After 3 days, they were asked to do this.
All right.
So when they turn there, they just come into this mountainous area. I just took a picture of one person there so you can see how big it is.
Hmm.
So this is where the edge of the wilderness, here starts the wilderness, Bible calls it.
Okay. Okay.
And this is very important. Here you see this road that went down to the sea is very, you going in circles. And the Bible says, after they turned, the Bible says, for Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, they are entangled in the land. Wilderness had shut them in. Can you see how it fits?
Hmm.
It fits exactly with what the Bible says, because now he knows he had posts, so he got the message back
Mm.
where the Israelites were
Mm.
at that time, and they were said they only wanted to ask Pharaoh to go 3 days out in the wilderness
Mm.
to worship their God, and now after 3 days they are running further away from Egypt.
Hmm.
So that's what was not a deal for Pharaoh, but he will say now that they had
Mm.
been entangled in the land, and now they couldn't get away.
So this is a picture actually taken from air, and at the bottom of the picture is that very famous beach, Nueva?
Yes,
All
yes,
right.
it is.
Okay, and we have also another picture here. This is a satellite
Yeah,
picture of Wadi Wadi. Could you just say a few words about this location?
yeah. It's just you can see the beach at the right
Hmm.
side, and that's where they came in. And he said they were entangled in the wilderness.
Hmm.
And at the bottom picture, you can see at the end of this road, Wadi Watir, and you can see maybe a little bit of the beach, and you can
Hmm.
see the water, and you can
Hmm.
see Saudi Arabia, Midian in the background.
Okay, in the background. So the you've been there. Have you been there yourself?
Oh yeah, many, many times. I took tour groups there together with Ron Wyatt for many
Right.
years,
Okay. Well, this is
and I've been
very
there afterwards as well.
mhm. This is very interesting, and maybe we could tell our viewers about our surprise in a couple of weeks. I'm expecting to have one of our friends down there, and he's gonna try
Hmm.
to do a live stream exactly from that particular location. But I had another question in my mind here because the road which
Yeah.
is on the picture here, this is from when? What year was that?
Uh, oh, me and years, my brain is not fit for years, but it was in the 2000 or something,
All right. So
2004, 5. Yeah.
okay. So did they make this road on the actual route that the Israelites actually took down to the beach, where supposedly
Yes,
did?
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. Because this road is natural, form because
Mhm.
there is a road because of when it rains in this area, it's a flash flood, makes
Mhm.
out the way. So it's a vatir or a
Mm.
valley, you can call
Yeah.
it. But the flash flood destroyed the road so many times, so they
Mhm.
made a new one now. But
Okay.
they always had it. It's an old pilgrim route.
All right. Okay. Well, here we do have another picture of the actual Nueva site.
Yes. That's this little peninsula, or what you will call it, at the end of this Wadi Batir, and it's around 3 kilometers on one state, on the other is 7 kilometer length. Yes, 7 and 3 kilometers. It's quite big. And that's where they came out, and they camped in south of this place. And what's interesting is that I talked with people who lived there, and this little place is called Nuweiba, but they told me that this place up here that I pointed with the red
Arrow.
oh,
Yes.
arrow, thank you.
Yeah.
They say it's called Musaina.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that very interesting. And I found maps where Musaina was still there on the map. And so I went to some Egyptian and asked them, so what is the meaning of the name? And they say it's the opening of Moses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I found that very fascinating,
Okay.
They could, rewrite it in some other position and call it something else. But when you said the name, they said that's the opening of Moses.
All right.
So in the north of the island, there is a well, and that's an old fort lying there that is not Egyptian, but it's built upon an elder fort that could be an Egyptian. But it's a well there, and where they can get water.
Okay, so what I can see on the picture that there are some locations. Is anybody living there on this island or half an island today,
Yeah,
or?
yes, yes. Oh, yes,
Okay.
yes. Many are living there.
Okay.
So there's
It,
hotels also, many hotels, and
wow.
then diving club.
Really? So this is
Diving.
actually today. This is open for tourism or visitors. So
Yeah,
anybody.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Is it difficult to get a visa for Saudi Arabia as a tourist today?
This
Do
is
you-
not Saudi Arabia, it's Egypt still.
Oh, this is still Egypt. Sorry.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So you can just you can go down there from
Yeah.
Israel with just
Yeah.
a simple visa to the Sinai Peninsula. You don't
Mm.
need visa to Cairo to get down there. So it's
Yeah.
very easy to get down there. But I have to say it's crowded with Al Qaeda and people like that. So
Okay.
you better be
So
nice.
pre precaution. Yes, precaution on.
Yeah. I had a
Yeah.
pic. I came into a restaurant when I was there with the sons of Ron Wyatt, and that was in 2008, I think.
Mm.
And there was a big picture of Saddam Hussein on the picture, and I
Wow.
said, they asked us, "Where are you from?" And I said, "We are from Norway." I said because I didn't want them to ask Ron Wyatt's sons, because United States is that
Yeah.
was after they killed Saddam Hussein,
Mm.
though, and yeah.
Yeah.
But it's better be a little cautious than.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. And here you have a picture and some information from a researcher.
Yeah, that's a good for all those who like to research. This is Glenn Fritz. I never met this man personally, but my friends have. And he's actually taken a doctorate on these questions. He took it and he wrote this book, The Last, I can't see it, The Last Sea of the Exodus.
Yeah.
Yeah, of the Exodus. And he wrote another book as well. He has been in Midian and he has been researching this place as the real crossing site. And he is a geographer. You can see he has a PhD in geography. So he should be, the person that you really need if you don't believe us amateurs. He has done a great research. And if you like, this book can be downloaded online. And it has a lot of good maps in it, old maps. He has really done research in old maps.
All right.
And he is convinced that this is the right place.
Okay, so actually, just to repeat again for our viewers, which one, both of them, or the first one, the Lost Sea of Exodus? I'm gonna put it up again here. This can be downloaded for free on
Yeah.
the internet.
No,
Okay.
you have to pay a little, I think.
Okay, all right.
I don't
Okay.
think it's for free, but it's.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. The thing is that you have information here from another person. And again, I have to ask the question, was he related to Ron Wyatt? Did he do studies together with Ron
No,
Wyatt? No. Okay.
no, I don't think he ever met Ron Wyatt, actually. He met up with other guys like Leonard Muller and others later. So then he came in a little later, but he has done a lot of good research
Okay.
on this.
Did you meet him in person, this guy?
No, No, I never met him. And friends of mine met him.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay. And what is his research basically showing us?
Well, it's a lot, but I think this one is very, very good because this is something that people forget to research maybe. It's about this name place or where they crossed. It's called Yam Suf, and sometimes we translate that with the Sea of Reed, you know, and that's why they think it's far up in Egypt somewhere. But in Kings, it's the same name where Solomon built his ships, and he didn't build his ship in Egypt. So it says the same Yam Suf. And he researched a lot of other places that also mentioned Yam Suf in the Bible, but they translated with something else. It would be so easy with everybody translated with the Sea of Reed or the Red Sea. Then we understood it was the same sea as they crossed. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I knew about this first king, that this was the Solomon ships was built there, but he has found a lot of other places that he showed that they really are not true to the text, the Hebrew text, and that translated with what fits them where they think it happened.
All
The
right.
other places, I mean.
Well, okay. Well, it seems that everybody has his own or her own agenda. So it looks
Yeah.
like if you're trying to prove a point, you're just gonna take the evidence that it's proving your point. But as I have been looking through your presentation here, you have a lot of information. So it's not just because you want to fit the Bible, you want to merge the Bible with this evidence. And anybody, as you said in the beginning, can look this up. The information is out there. This is not something you just made, right? You had this presentation
No.
before. You mentioned, right? You had this presentation before, and you also did receive a lot of critique, right?
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
They brought in professors and
Yeah.
archaeologists and everything to
Yeah.
prove me wrong, but they haven't done any research, so it was not so difficult to answer them actually.
Okay. Like for example, this one here that you have on this
Yeah, that's the
picture.
pillar.
Okay. Because
That's the pillar you mentioned in the start.
okay, according to the other archaeologists, this pillar is not from this period. This is made
No,
of.
it's later.
Okay.
It's from the Phoenician times, and that's why, and also because of the pillar found on the other side that nobody of us have been able to look at. That says it's Solomon who puts it up. So Solomon lived at the same time at the Phoenicians, so it fits more that that was his doing to
Okay.
commemorate the site.
Yes. All right. So this
Or
is not.
somebody at that time.
Okay. This is not a contemporary pillar, which
No.
which the
It,
website we were just putting in the beginning. Actually, they made a claim that it is a contemporary pillar made by the Egyptian government, which is made of concrete, right? Okay.
No, nobody ever said that. So I don't know where they have found that. So this is
Okay.
just a pillar that Ron and his sons found at the beach, and they told the Israeli soldiers that were there, and they took it up. So the next time they came, they had put it up there.
Yes.
And Ron found a similar one at the other side. And you know, we just had one. Ron is standing in the middle here, by the way, and I'm sitting in front of him.
Okay. Well, let's put up the
And
picture here. Yeah.
yeah, that's Ron standing with a white T-shirt, and I'm sitting in front of him in a black T-shirt. And there's a lot of Norwegian and Australian and yeah,
Okay.
people on it. But anyway, he found a pillar at the other side, and we had only his word for it. And his picture was taken when he went from Saudi Arabia, so he didn't even have a picture of it. But lately now, people I know and people tell about that they have talked with Saudi Arabian people living there. They remember the pillar. Some of them say where it is now, and some I know a person that works a lot with. I don't want to say his name because he don't like that. He's a priest who likes to work with the Muslims, and he has been with the kingdom and princes, and one prince told him he knows where this is, where the pillar is.
Okay.
So he was
What?
very interested in that.
The Prince of Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Okay.
He said he knows where the pillar is because they are very involved in this project.
All right. Okay. Here we do have another Bible verse which is probably known by many people. This is the
Yeah,
story. Okay. So I'm just gonna
they
go
went
ahead
over.
here. Yeah. And
Yes, more research.
yeah.
This is Ian Rodney from New Zealand.
Mhm.
He has a work, I don't know his title, but he has a work in New Zealand where he uses a lot of this equipment to
Mhm.
research the bottom and
Mhm.
find fishes and all this. And I met him, so I'm in the picture down here, as you ask for that very often. So Ian Rodney and I standing beside each other. That's just a short time after he had done this research. I talked
Mhm.
with him,
Okay.
and he measured, how the deep and
Mhm.
also how smooth it was, and they went all over the middle because Saudi Arabia is over the middle, but they went as far as they could out in Aqaba to
Mhm.
see, how it was situated under the water, if it was smooth all the way out, because that you can see when you dive there. You can even
Mhm.
snorkel and see how smooth the sand is
Mhm. Yeah.
and how deep it was.
Okay. Just for our viewers, well, what is he measuring here?
Is measuring the depth and also to see if it's holes. And you see
Mm.
sometimes down in the Red Sea, if you snorkel there or dive there, you will see there's a big
Mm.
hole in the ground. It's because of this corals and everything.
Mm.
I've been snorkeling one place where there was 3 kilometers straight down, in Red Sea. So
Mhm.
you have to know if it's smooth all the way over, like it says.
Yeah. Okay. We're just waiting for the internet to get back.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, we are back.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. I was. Yeah. All right. Just a note. If somebody's using the internet where you are, could you please ask them to to stop?
He's
Okay.
not in that room in case, but then I have to move and ask him, okay?
Okay. I'm just gonna put this slide up again, and yeah.
Yeah, and then I disappear for a second.
All right. Yeah. So we're just waiting to get Elin back here in the picture.
Sorry, let's hope
Yeah.
it will be better.
Okay. Okay. So I was just mentioning before that what Jan Rodney is measuring here is the seabed, and
Yeah,
as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, Ron Wyatt was the first person to make the claim that the sea crossing was from exactly this location where Jan Rodney is doing the sonar measurements right now, right? Because what Ron Wyatt
yeah,
claimed is that the seabed was actually kind of like a bridge, and
yes,
okay, and we do have some other pictures here. Uh, there is one verse in the
yeah.
Bible here.
Yes, because it's very deep and it's even deeper than Ron Wyatt really thought it was. They say the marine, actually, Ian Rodney didn't get more than 400 meters,
Hmm.
but they say it's measured 700 meters. But he said to me, Ian Rodney, what impressed him was this scripture that it was the water of the great deep.
Hmm.
It says in Jesaja.
Yeah.
So he dried up the sea, the waters of the great deep. So you can't have any water that is shallow like in Egypt. You have to
Mm.
make it has to be the water of the great deep.
Mm.
So he made the depths of the sea. I can't see it very clearly here, so it's so
Yeah.
difficult for me to read. But you see the point. It has to
Yeah.
be deep, but it's deeper at the other side,
Mm-hmm.
and that's every map tells you that. In one side, the deepest is the 8,850 meter, so it's very deep at two sides here. But in
Mm-hmm.
the middle, it's deep, but it's still, like a breach
Yeah.
over
Yeah. Okay.
from all the sand that has come out there.
Mm. So that actually makes it a possible logical location to cross
Yeah.
over, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, again, is it possible? This is the question. And you have some measurements here again.
Yes, because this is one of what the really critics that I showed me. This is not possible, they say, because you can't go further down. The deepest tunnel in the world is in Norway. It's 400-meter deep. But of course, it's possible. You can just measure it. And what they say is it depends on how long it is, right? How deep can you go
Mm.
without climbing up at the other side? That
Yeah.
somebody told me they have to. But you don't. You can make a slope down and up again because
Yeah.
that you can use the mathematics.
Mm.
And if you have the length and you have the deep,
Yeah.
you can just measure it, and then you can see it's just, you see where the red
Mm.
arrow is pointing.
Yeah.
That's the slope you will have.
Mm. Mm. All right. Okay. Well, one of the critics actually are pointing to the bones, which have been excavated from this side here. And
Yeah.
you mentioned before this expert, this from Sweden, Lennart Müller.
Yeah,
Uh,
he's a doctor at Karolinska. He's a researcher
mhm.
there in Karolinska University. And of course, he say he's so old, so he cannot say the date of it, but he can say it's fossilized. It's very, very old.
Yeah. Okay. And here we do go into
Yeah,
more of the very, I would say, intriguing evidence that we do have from this location here. Because some of the critics,
yeah,
which I'm reading, is that they're claiming these are no actual artifacts, and there are no actual
mm,
artifacts from this exact location, from this seabed underneath the Red Sea, from Nueva to the other side in the Gulf of Aqaba. Do you
mm.
did you take these pictures or
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
Okay.
Or this is two of my friends, Aaron and Ross.
Mhm.
They have dived there many, many times, and my son has dived there too. I will tell about that later. But as you see here, it's not so easy to see this in two-dimensional pictures.
Mm.
It's easier when it's three-dimensional because what's happening with those wheels is you can see this how it has been, what it has been looked like.
Yeah.
Because of course, if it's of wood, it's rotten up. You can't see any wood, and most of these wheels were wood,
Mm.
but the corals are placing itself around some solid
Mm.
things. Corals always do that.
Mm.
They don't just turn up. They
Yeah.
place themselves at solid things, and then the
Mm.
solid things rotten up, and you have the corals back.
Mm.
But what you see down there, I will show a little bit later because you have to turn the picture, then you see more of the wheels.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the people who go down there, it's clearly more clearly to see the wheel and the axle that goes up. Myself, I have dived. I'm not a diver, but I have snorkeled there. And this picture, you can see Aaron is touching. I
Mm.
saw this one and could touch it myself. And
Mhm.
you can see, what has been this knobs in the wheel, and you can see this thing sticking up. That has
Mhm.
been the axle up to the next wheel. And it's easier to see it when you are in the sea
Mhm.
than when you see it on picture like this.
Mm.
Here you can see on the left side down there, you can see an 8-spoke wheels. That's very interesting. And can you see it looks like a wheel before they draw the picture on their right side? I
Mhm.
think it's easy to see.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
see actually where the wheel have been.
Mm,
I don't think this drawing make it even more, but I
mm,
like to show both picture so you
mm-hmm.
can see what it has looked like.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so
yeah,
this is actually, just to get back, this is actually something you've touched yourself, right?
yeah.
You've been diving there for yourself, and this is,
I snorkeled.
uh-huh. Okay, this is an open site, like anybody could eventually go there. And
Yeah,
as
yeah, yeah.
as I know, there has been a lot of other people that went down there to try to actually find these whales as well, right?
Yes, and there's a diving center there. You can just hire this diving equipment.
Mm, mm.
You pay
And
for it, and you
yeah,
can even ask the locals and pay them to take you out in a boat. It's very
hmm,
easy.
yeah.
Just do it.
And of course, nobody's actually allowed to take anything from there. Uh,
No,
uh,
that's very, very important. It's
yeah,
the corals that you
mm,
are not allowed to take up. You're
yeah,
not
yeah,
allowed to take any. And it's not so easy just to just say, well, let's try to take it,
mm,
because there are helicopters
mm,
going over you.
mm,
You wouldn't believe it, but
yes,
we see these helicopters just on top of your head.
mm,
They are coming, to see
yeah.
what you are doing.
Yeah, and I think it's probably a very good idea that it's forbidden to take artifacts from there. I guess probably millions of people are going there, and like it happened in
Yeah.
other location, people will probably just destroy everything which has been left there. You do have some comments on about the wheels.
Yes, they have also gone down there with metal detectors, and
Mm,
they found metals detected in the wheels. And that's what Ron brought to this archaeologist was not
mm,
a wheel, because there is no wheel left.
mm-hmm.
But he took this metal knob, hub with him that
Yeah.
shows that it has been an eight-spoke wheels, and that's what they looked at.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what is there, not a whole wheel. And they used metal from that time. We know
Mm-hmm.
that from what I was written there. They used metal in the 18th dynasty to make it stronger.
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
So,
and
and
here,
and here it's
yeah.
easier because I turned down, one of the pictures, so you can see actually what you are looking at.
Mm-hmm.
This is in a wheel with an axle intact.
Mm-hmm. This is very
So you
interesting.
see here.
Yeah,
Yes, isn't it? Because
yeah.
this is a wheel from Tutankhamun's tomb when he lived in
Mm-hmm.
the 18th dynasty,
Mm-hmm.
and under you can see exactly it's still the wheel with
Mm-hmm.
the axle still on it.
Okay, so the wagon from Tutankhamun's tomb, it's where is it exhibited in Cairo?
In Cairo
Uh,
Museum. Yeah,
okay, all right. So anybody can go and see this
that's.
and okay, and
Oh
act
yes, oh yes.
and do a comparison. And here you do also have another picture.
Yes, yeah, I think that's interesting because I took this picture up here. You see Ron Wyatt sitting, and where the arrow is pointing is my son Thomas,
Mm-hmm.
and he went diving with Ron and a lot of other Americans, and he and another American they found an eight-spoke wheels. So I found that very interesting that he found also was
Mm-hmm.
able to find this eight-spoke wheel.
Mm-hmm. Okay, a lot of other picture, 4, 6, and 8 spoke.
Yeah, because that's what Hassan said, this Muhammad Hassan,
Mm-hmm.
that why he said it is from the 18th dynasty is because that was the only time where they had eight, four, and six-spoke wheels
Mm-hmm.
altogether.
Mm-hmm.
But they stopped using eight-spoke wheels because I think the wagons get too heavy or
Mm-hmm.
something. So this is the only time where we have these eight-spoke wheels. That's why it's so important to find
Mm-hmm.
them.
Mm-hmm. And here we do have an inscription. This
Here
is a,
you have the proof
yeah, okay, from Cairo
because this is
Museum.
a
Yeah.
wagon. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
from Cairo Museum. It's a wagon from Thutmose the third, I think it is, or from Tutankhamun. Now I'm not sure. It's one of them. I've taken this picture myself. You can see it in the exhibition in the Cairo Museum, and you see an eight-spoke wheel at the top left here, and at the bottom you see a four-spoke wheel.
Yeah. All right.
Uh,
More pictures,
So
a lot of wheels down there, I have to
it's
say.
a lot of wheels. It is really.
Okay. So a lot of proof that all of these images and evidence that you have actually put together in this presentation, which have been found exactly in this location, right? In
Yeah,
between Nueva and the other side on the Saudi
as far
Arabian.
as you can go. But I
Mm.
also have a friend who dived at the other side.
Mhm.
She was with me on my first tour, and then she took a job in Saudi Arabia as a midwife,
Mhm.
and she was there, and together with Americans, they were able to film and dive at the other side
Mhm. So they
in Saudi
actually
Arabia.
did they find whales or any kind of
Yes,
evidence?
I think I have a picture of one of them in the end here.
Okay.
She was just filming everything she saw.
Mhm.
But yes, I have the golden wheels first. Yes,
Mhm.
in twice they found the golden wheels. Ron Wyatt
Mhm.
found it, and his son, it was actually his sons who found it first, and they
Mhm.
uh, asked him to come over, swimming over and see the golden wheel because the corals don't attached to gold, so it was so clearly, you see. But there is another one. You see the drawing at
Mhm.
the bottom here, at the right side, is
Yeah.
drawn by a very famous Adventist drawer named Alfred Lee.
Mhm.
He has drawn a lot of pictures that is in the General Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So
Mhm.
he's very famous in
Yeah.
Adventism.
Wow.
But he was with Ron and dived, and he also saw the golden wheel.
Mhm. Okay. Well, now
Good
the
to
big
have.
now the big question is because this is one of actually the I believe the most attacked proof
Mm.
piece of evidence because a lot of critics are saying that nobody has actually seen this golden wheel. So this is just fake news, and this is just a picture, an
Yeah.
image of the wheel circulating all over the internet. Because I would
Mm.
say this is actually one of the best proofs, right?
Yeah, it is. And it's strange. They tried to mark it, the
Mm.
son of Ron told me. They tried to
Mhm.
mark it, but when they come the next day, they couldn't, it has just gone away. And the sand is shifting all the time. I talked to one person down there who dives there all the time. He
Mm.
said, under the hotel, and he said, can you confirm that the sand is shifting here?
Mm.
So, and he said, all the time. He said, all the time. He said,
Mhm.
something is there one day, it disappeared the next day.
Mhm.
So that's why it's difficult to find it if you don't know the exact location.
Okay, so they didn't take the wheel from that location.
No, no, they
No.
didn't.
Okay, so the wheel it's still down there as far as you know.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, it is.
All right. So, but it's
They
very
tried to touch it,
Mm.
but when they touched it, they saw it could get broken because
Mhm.
the wood inside is
Mhm.
gone. So it's just the gold that is back.
Okay. So it's kind of like a golden shell around which
Yeah.
whatever was left from the wheel, right?
Mm, mm.
Okay. Okay. This is very interesting again, and